Hey nerds, David here, and today I have an update video again for Bionicle Ages. Ko Koro was the ice village on the island of Mount Ihu, and it's where the Ko-Matoran lived, and their, patron Toa defender was Toa Kopaka in the 2001 Bionicle storyline. Yeah, so as you've probably picked up from what I've already shared on the screen, for just the buildings of the village, again sticking very close to the art style we're presented with in the Monog series, and I guess specifically Monog 1. Monog 2, it's quite a different art style, or I guess the village is quite different, but yeah, so I'm sticking with following Monog 1, and Ko Koro actually has a extremely distinct play style, and especially prior to this, I'm testing them as I print and develop the cards. So as far as playtesting, I've only playtested Lei Koro before this. And so if you remember, if you watch that video, Lei Koro, it's all about getting the Lei Koro band together. So it's about producing many Matoran. However, Ko Koro, their unique village mechanic is isolationism. So why isolationism? So Ko-Matoran tended to be more alone and aloof, especially from the rest of the villages. Obviously, Kopaka preferred to work alone, and then it's really inspired by Kopeke. So Kopeke, he preferred to be alone, obviously, and Matoran of very few words. But you also notice when in Monog, when you're defending Kini, I felt at least in my play experience, Kopeke has the best stats. He could most of the time defend. He was one of the best at hitting other Rahi. He was really the best. He was carrying the team in Monog in those series of battles. So kind of inspired by that, Ko Koro had so much Ko. So inspired by that, Ko-Matoran get a special buff for having fewer Matoran out in play. So it's very different from Lei Koro, because you're wanting to ideally stick with very few, almost one even, Matoran out at a time. And towards that isolationist buff, it only includes their basic units, right? So that would be disc throwers. Spoiler alert, every village has disc throwers, because that was pretty universal, all Bionicle, Matoran throw discs. So there you go, everyone has disc throwers, and then in addition to that, every village also has a basic melee type unit. And for Ko Koro, I called it the what did I call it? Drift Patrol. So and again, this is my Bionicle Ages is my imagining how these villages operated prior to the arrival of the Atoa. So Drift Patrol, their inspiration are Matoran like Kopeke, who patrolled the ice drifts, hence the name Drift Patrol, around Ko Koro, and I imagine guiding people to the village and just making sure Matoran didn't freeze and die to Rahi. The next unit I want to talk about is the Sanctum Guard, and I thought I was being original, and then when I was looking up Ko-Matoran appearances just to get some ideas for colorings, I found on Biosector 1 that apparently is already an official organization name. So there you go. So the Sanctum Guard, they are the guards of the Ko Koro Sanctum, and how I made them unique, and especially to make them visually distinct from the Drift Patrol who use ice picks. The Sanctum Guard, they also have a similar looking ice pick, but they have an extra spike at the bottom of their ice pick. So what is that for? So what I imagined it being is so it allows them to like kind of like block with their ice pick, and then like against a Rahi, like they can like turn it, and then they have that additional spike to use. So that pick or ice pick, like it never occurs in canon. For me, that was purely developed just to make them visually like distinct. And I would actually really appreciate your guys' opinion on this, but would you prefer that the Drift Patrol carry like an icicle instead of an ice pick, so that I could give the Sanctum Guard just a regular ice pick in their picture? So again, like it's a very subtle detail, but again, it's not important, but it matters, or at least it matters to me. And if I can't, so I'm not trying to be completely beholden. Like I'm not like grading myself against that, but if I can, I want to be. So for example, according to Biosector 1, 2 members of the Sanctum Guard are like the 2 Matoran if I'm assuming if you're watching this, you've played a Monog, and if you haven't, you should do yourself a favor and either play it or watch that video compilation of all the animations. Oh, actually, I guess you'd have to play the game in order to see this particular scene I'm going to reference. But when you go to Ko Koro, there are the 2 Matoran who are standing guard. They're silent and they're covered in snow, and then when you click them, they salute you. And like the snow falls and everything. So those 2 Matoran are Sanctum Guard, and their ice picks are just a generic ice pick. So that's the reason why I would like to give the Sanctum Guard card just a regular ice pick. But again, I felt like in general ice picks were the normal like defensive or offensive armament for melee that Ko Matoran used. So that's why I gave it to the regular Drift Patrol instead of like an icicle like spear thing. So I'd really appreciate your guys' opinion like on that, and what do you think like looks cool or I guess potentially look better. I don't have like an icicle mock-up to show you. And finally, for Matoran units, I want to talk about the Ihu Explorer. So coming from Mount Ihu, so these are Matoran who just explored that mountain or in the mountains roundabout. So point is very inhospitable, not well traveled, unlike the Drift Patrol, which is basically like patrolling like a route, almost like caravan and like convoy protection, almost how you can think of like regular Drift Patrol. But Ihu Explorers, like they're off the beaten path, and the best example of this is Matoro. Again in Monog, so they're easily recognized because they have the flags on their back, so that way wherever they go they can plant them and find their way back. So that's like their purpose, and that's how I made them visually distinct on my cards. And another thing that's very unique to the village of Ko Koro is, so as we all know, their Toa was Toa Kopaka, and Toa Kopaka automatically spawns with the Kanohi Akaku, which is that mask of X-ray vision. And what I did for Bionicle Ages, how its power translates, what it does is when the player activates it, it negates the target right now it's a Rahi. In the future there will be Borak. So it negates the Rahi's unit or its native like stat buff modifier for attack or defense. It totally negates that, so it's only the dice roll that determines like the numbers and results for your opposing unit. And the Toa could use that Kanohi like again on attack or defense. So basically Kopaka has like an ace up his sleeve so that he can potentially easily, or maybe just barely, but point is like if he needs to needs to not die or needs to defend the village, he can activate that, and he has a very powerful buff right out the gate. So there you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any like questions, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling. And really, like I said, especially in this video, more so than like my previous videos, I would really appreciate your feedback on my art style. Again, especially between the Drift Patrol and the Sanctum Guard. Should they both have a form of ice pick or not? So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay nerdy, my friends.